Hi everybody, just bringing you an astrology report based on an event we've got coming up this weekend. And that is that Saturn is stationing direct. That's taking place on the 4th of November. Saturn has been in Pisces since the 7th of March, calling for us to get in alignment with our spiritual truth. Of course, he's in the house of the divine, and he's been in retrograde since the 17th of June. We had a new moon in Gemini at that time, so it was massive energy kind of around that date also, as well as other dates that's happened since then. As I'm sure you felt with the energy, it's been quite intense, a roller coaster of transformation and our healing journey, if you like. But he's been in retrograde since the 17th of June. So around 4 months, offering us that deep introspection like retrogrades do, certainly when it comes to what lessons we need to learn to get us in alignment with our spiritual truth, with that core divinity within us, that divine essence, that source energy that's flowing through us and is accessible to us via our intuition, etc. But really calling for us to get in alignment with our spiritual truth. Saturn doesn't mess around, of course, massive energy, is very regimented in his approach, is that taskmaster type energy, but a teacher in that way. So, of course, wanting us to get in alignment with our spiritual truth for our highest good. But when he entered Pisces on the 7th of March, it was almost like he kind of came into this interrogation room, and I've mentioned this before. The sort of analogy I gave it was that the full moon in Virgo happened 55 minutes beforehand. So the full moon kind of like lit up the interrogation room, ready for Saturn. Saturn appeared. Hi, I'm in Pisces now. Have you learnt those lessons of the past 3 years whilst I've been in Aquarius? No. Okay, let's go around again and I'll just show you what you need to learn. Or, yes, brilliant, you've learnt it. Here are your karmic rewards. So we've been getting karmic returns, whether that be further lessons or whether that be blessings. Okay, there's also been quite a lot of karmic stuff coming up, karmic debris flying around because of all this transformation that we're going through. So we're having to really understand where these deep-rooted patterns might have been coming from. Could be past life connected, could simply be karma attributed to this lifetime, but earlier on, you know, from childhood, early years, you know, what we're trying to actually relearn, if you like, because maybe those structures, when you think of Saturn, you know, those structures that we've kind of built things upon have maybe been false, and we've had to recognize that and appreciate that. Or it could be that patterns of behavior have been coming up and we've become more aware of it with all of these full moons and with all of these retrogrades. We're kind of trying to understand, why does this pattern keep coming up within me? Why do I keep feeling this way when something like this happens, or when I'm around similar types of people? And when we strip it back, it could be that it's related to past life situations, past life connections. There's been a lot of healing that's been going on relating to past life situations and the karma that's actually come from past lives that we are now cleansing in this lifetime with those souls. So, of course, I know that's going quite deep, but if it resonates for you, it's going to resonate for you. This is about understanding, you know, we're recognizing those members of our soul tribe who we've had connections with in many lifetimes before, where there's been some underlying karma that needs to be cleansed, and it's all coming up to the surface in this lifetime to be cleansed and healed, so we can finally learn those lessons and get in alignment with our spiritual truth. Yes, you've guessed it, exactly what Saturn wants us to do. And so the period of retrograde, Saturn's been in retrograde since the 17th of June. So as I mentioned, about 4 months, offering that introspection. So even though, you know, Saturn in Pisces is offering us introspection anyway, when it comes to our spiritual truth, the retrograde allows us that energy to go inside further, to further explore on a deep level what it is we need to focus on when it comes to all of those things I've just mentioned. And because Saturn is very much about rules and structure and, you know, very kind of business focused as well. So it could be that certain work aspects have been coming up. All right, that might resonate for a few of you out there. But also don't forget, karmic stuff, because Saturn rules karma. So this has been coming up, and we've needed to really sort of put that spotlight on it ourselves from within. And the other retrogrades that have been going on, you know, we've gone through the Pluto retrograde, and we're emerging from this cocoon of deep transformation, and it's been uncomfortable. We're in Scorpio season at the moment. It can feel quite gunky. It can feel like, oh my goodness, when is this healing journey going to end? Have I not done enough healing work? We're always evolving. We're always healing, you know, we're always a healing. We're always a healing step away from the next healing step. But, you know, this is about constantly evolving on our spiritual journey. And, you know, through doing that, we're actually understanding more about ourselves. This is what we're learning, and we're remembering. And again, I'll link it back to past lives. Okay, so there might be something really prominent that we need to be aware of from a past life, and we're remembering who we are at the core. We're remembering how divine we are at the core. But of course, we need to make sure that any toxic stuff that's connected to us, or, you know, and it could just simply be negative self-talk, you know, these beliefs that we have about ourselves that's negative, that's kind of, you know, we're not worthy of such beautiful divine blessings, which is ridiculous. But, you know, it's a natural thing when we've been through pain and trauma. So we're having to understand all of this coming up. And as we've been getting more in alignment with our spiritual truth, actually recognizing, no, we are worth more than this. And as a result of that revelation, we're then assessing what investments are bringing us that return back in the heart space. So I mentioned about Venus energy, previous reports. That's still a topic of focus. We need to understand where we are investing our resources, because if we're still investing in places, in people, in things that are not bringing us that joy, why are we doing it? And that is another question for us to ask ourselves, because it's like, okay, I'm doing it because of my lack of self-worth, or I'm doing that because I've always been told you can't aim that high, you've got to aim here, and you've just got to put your energy here. Well, no, if it's not bringing joy, it needs to be reassessed in some way. So I'm just using that as an example. But understanding, you know, we want to get those returns. We want to get that reciprocal energy back from what we're investing in, because that fuels us more with the sacred flame energy. It brings us that Venus energy, that joy. And as a result, we become more magnetic to the divine opportunities that are in alignment with us at that higher vibration, and not at the lower vibration, you know, because we're doing things because we feel we have to, but we don't really enjoy those things. Fear is another one that's been coming up, you know. And it's not only Saturn that's been teaching us all of this, by the way, it's everything else that's been going on with all of the other planets and the energy and the full moons here, there and everywhere, just illuminating stuff for us for our highest good. But, you know, we're actually, and I've lost my thread on that one, but we've been recognizing what's been coming up and why it's been coming up, why we've actually been driven in a certain way, and those patterns could relate to something from childhood or a previous relationship. And by us understanding and accepting and gaining the wisdom of it, but leaving the pain in the past, carrying the wisdom forward, then we become stronger, more sovereign, more empowered, and we're making Saturn happy because we're learning the lessons and we're getting more in alignment with our spiritual truth. So that's how that works. Now I'm going to dive into the chart, okay, just to show you what's happening at the moment that Saturn switches on again. And, you know, that's going to allow us that momentum then forward to really kind of put things in place that we maybe need to, from that regimented approach that Saturn has, but also understanding that this is now our chance to move forward in the direction of our own karma. You know, those karmic returns that we want to experience. And it could be that we still need to learn certain lessons, and we're, you know, grateful for those opportunities, because perhaps we, you know, we need to understand things a bit more, or perhaps we're ready now for the karmic rewards because we've gone through the mill and we feel like we've learned all the lessons we need to learn. So let's look at the chart, and afterwards I'm going to pull up the chart against the UK's natal chart just to give some context to the house system. And I've also got some cards here, divination tools, just to pull some extra messages at the end. Okay, so let's have a look at the chart. Okay, here we go. Nice and colourful, as usual. And I'm just recovering from this nasty bug that's been going around. So I hope you're all doing okay out there. It's a sign of the times, I think, when the seasons shift and change. But also, you know, let's not forget there's lots of transformation and heavy stuff going on as well. I'm quite sensitive to the energy, so there's been a lot of that for me as well. So I hope you're all doing good. Let's look at Saturn going direct. As I mentioned, for us in the UK, that's 7:03 a.m. Tomorrow, Saturday, the 4th of November. And there's many things that I was drawn to when I looked at this, so I will come on to them. Okay, and I've not drawn every single aspect on here. These are just the ones I was guided to look at. Okay, but what we have here is we have Saturn no longer in the red because he's direct at this point, in Pisces, 0 degrees. Okay, now there is an opposition with Lilith. It's not direct because Lilith is at 4 degrees of Virgo. Lilith is actually retrograde at the moment, but there is still that opposition energy. So of course, Lilith is also a great teacher. Lilith can bring up, certainly in Virgo, these self-critical aspects. So, okay, Saturn then switches on, is direct. It's like, right, that introspection has shown me perhaps some karmic patterns that I need to be aware of, or perhaps where some structures and rules are not working for me, and I need to now sort of like power forward and do what I need to do. And Lilith might just be bringing up some kind of shadow aspects for us to pay attention to. And that's where, you know, she can also be a great teacher. There is that feminine energy, but it is the shadow feminine energy. We need to be friends with our shadow because we have to understand where these fears, doubts, and anxieties are coming from, as I've just mentioned. So it's opposition energy, but it can actually work in harmony if we're aware of it. So if we're aware of, right, well, I know I've got to get things done now. Saturn is going to be moving forward, and I've really got to get my act together with all of this. But I am just aware of this little sneaking doubt that's coming up. Thank you, Lilith, where I'm being a bit too critical of myself. But, you know, I'm aware of it. So now I know I need to focus on that. I need to do a bit of healing. I need to do some meditation, whatever it might be. I need to understand this further. And you become aware and you've accepted that and acknowledged it. That's how it can work for us. Now, also from Saturn, there is a trine. Okay, I appreciate the lines do cross over, and this is where it gets a bit messy if I'm drawing too many things, but I did want to point out the oppositions to you. But there is a trine from Saturn to Vesta, and I've mentioned Vesta before, the sacred flame energy. So what sparks that flame within? Who sparks that flame within? What is our sacred flame? What gives us that passion, that desire for creating something? Okay, there is also some manifestation energy around Vesta because of the fact it is to do with creation. And what have we wanted to manifest for ourselves throughout this healing journey? You know, we might have a clear idea of what that is, and we may not. But, you know, we've certainly been asked to go within and reflect on what that sacred flame energy is for us. So Saturn in trine to Vesta is very much that kind of green light of, okay, you know, Saturn has been asking us to understand, to get in alignment with our spiritual truth. Well, the sacred flame is at the core of our spiritual truth, isn't it? Because it's the sacred flame within, and it is in alignment with our soul's truth because it's the sacred flame within. So, you know, understanding via our intuition what it is or who it is that sparks that flame within is in alignment with our spiritual truth. And that's going to enable us to focus more of our investments when it comes to our resources, time, energy, attention, money, love, etc., in those areas of the sacred flame, because that's what we want to manifest for our lives. That's the reality we want to create, things that we're passionate about, things that we want to create. And, you know, what brings us that passion, or who brings us that passion? Okay, so that's actually working in harmony with Saturn. And there's another trine from Saturn across to Pallas and the South Node, both of which are in Libra. So Libra, all about fairness, reciprocity, equal give and take, balance, justice. The South Node being there, of course, you know, the foundations, where we've come from, because the South Node is where we've come from, excuse me. The North Node is where we're heading towards. I've got something stuck in my throat now, sorry. Oh, dear. Excuse me. So the South Node can also represent this karmic aspect that I've mentioned, and also past life, because it's where we've come from. So we want to establish a foundation that is built on fairness, balance, reciprocity. You know, that's what we want. And we're wanting to kind of utilize that foundation to cleanse the karma from past lives and this lifetime in order to build that foundation that is more balanced and fair. And then we can move in that direction of the North Node, which is in Aries, so our sovereignty. Okay. And Pallas is there as another divine feminine energy, of course, akin to goddess Aphrodite, that sort of energy, is there kind of supporting and nurturing us with that. So very interesting that the trine goes from Saturn across there, because the karma, I can't help but mention the karma again and the past life stuff, because, you know, Saturn retrograde, the introspection, us understanding what's coming up, then enables us to cleanse that karma, to nurture ourselves through that process in order to build that foundation that's fair and balanced, because we're cleansing the karma. Yeah. So that's how that energy works in harmony together as well. Okay. Now that's Saturn, and of course that's the focus because of Saturn going direct, but there are other things going on that I wanted to mention as well. First of all, the moon is going to be in Cancer at this particular moment. And, you know, this is 29 degrees of Cancer. So right at the final degree, because a planet or planetary body goes up to 29 degrees of a sign before it moves into another sign. So at this moment, the moon is still in Cancer, but will then be moving on to the next sign, Leo. Okay. But at this moment, the moon is in Cancer. So the moon is at home, because that's the moon's home, Cancer. Let's not forget, Cancer is a water sign. So there is a flow to our emotions, and the moon is at home. So it's a benefic position to be in. It's a positive, harmonious position for the moon to be in. But it can also mean, in my view, that we can feel all the feelings here, because the flow is there, enabling us to feel the feelings. And of course, the moon is at home. So we feel more comfortable to feel the feelings as well. So 29 degrees, you know, that can actually be a harsh degree, because it's the final one before the moon or any other planet kind of moves to another sign. So Saturn's just come direct, and it's like feeling all the feelings all at once because of what might have come up, you see, but still enabling that flow to happen. And there is an opposition between the moon and Pluto, and the Pluto is over here, 28 degrees of Capricorn. So also harsh degrees, because, you know, 28 degrees, it would then go to 29 and so on. So the opposition is not direct, there's 1 degree difference, but there is still that opposition energy of what we're feeling versus this deep transformation that we're still being called to go through. And Saturn has just switched back on direct. Let's get things moving. Let's get this regimented approach of getting things in order, you know, but in alignment with our spiritual truth as well. Recognizing that Pluto is, of course, in Saturn's home of Capricorn. So Pluto has actually been cleaning house in Saturn's sign. And then we've got the moon in opposition, almost feeling all of those feelings of what's been coming up. Maybe that karmic debris, having to go through all of that. But there is also a trine that's going across from the moon to Neptune. So this feels to me like it's very much linked to our intuition, because it's a trine, it's a harmonious aspect. Of course, we need to look at the light and shadow sides of planets. And if there was a square, I'd be focusing perhaps more on the more challenging aspects of Neptune, the shadow side. But this is a trine, and it feels to me like this is based around our intuition. And certainly from that retrogrades, you know, Saturn's retrograde, the introspection of going within, understanding from Pluto what it is we need to deeply transform, allowing ourselves to cleanse the karma, okay, of the South Node, and working in harmony with Saturn in order to do that, whilst also transforming, because let's face it, as we're cleansing the karma and clearing the karma, we're also transforming on a deep level, and that's what can feel uncomfortable and gunky. So we're doing all of that. We're understanding our sacred flame energy. We're understanding where we're investing in areas that need to bring us joy. And that is because we're understanding more about our intuition. So the moon is enabling us to feel more into our intuition, and vice versa. From our intuition, in terms of how we feel, that can guide our feelings and how we're motivated in our feelings to move forward to make the necessary changes that we need to. But understanding that, yes, the moon in Cancer is at home, so it allows us to be comfortable in our emotions, but to feel these feelings, okay? There is also a square, which I will mention, and that is from the moon across to the South Node and Pallas. So with that being said, yes, we are understanding from our intuition what it is and what we're all about. And as we're discovering more about ourselves via our intuition, that's guiding our feelings in terms of what we need to do, okay, what we need to take action on, because we need to feel these things. We need to feel the discomfort in order to make change. We need to feel the joy of what we're investing in order to invest further. Or we need to feel where there isn't joy so that we know, let's not invest in that area anymore. So we need to feel those things. And it's guided from our intuition as well. But the challenge can come in where there is the karmic situations that need to be brought up, because we might have certain feelings that are connected to those karmic situations or past life situations that make it a bit challenging to cleanse that karma, because it could be overcoming a massive lesson. It could be the destruction of a really kind of rigid pattern that's been part of us for like all this lifetime, but we've realized it come through a past lifetime that needs to be cleansed, but we've been attached to it for so long that can be challenging to then, you know, break free from and cleanse, etc. So our feelings might be attached to certain things, and that's where the challenging energy could be coming in. But we know that this is allowing us, you know, with the energy of Saturn, with the trine from the moon and to Neptune, it's our intuition that's helping guide our feelings because of what we know inherently within to be true. That acceptance and you know, that acknowledgement of what we know inherently within to be true. And that's the spiritual truth. Via our intuition, that's the spiritual truth. That's the source energy running through us. That's the divine. That's our divine link. Okay. Now, there is another trine that I didn't draw on here, and that is from Venus across to Uranus. Okay, so again, with our investments and Venus in Virgo, again, the critical aspect and wanting to get things in order with Virgo energy, when it comes to our investments, where we're investing our time, energy, money, love, attention, and how that's actually facilitating change when it comes to our worth and values, Uranus in Taurus. So that energy is working really well together. There is an opposition between Venus and Neptune. So of course, you know, we need to understand that our intuition is going to tell us where our investments are not making us happy. But do we want to hear that? Do we want to acknowledge that sometimes? That's where, you know, there can be that kind of push-pull energy. But understanding it's all for our highest good, and we're becoming aware of these things, and it is enabling us to make change, as I say, with Uranus there. Another thing I didn't draw on here, because it would have been too messy, is the Sun, of course, in Scorpio, because we are in Scorpio season, is opposite Jupiter in Taurus, 1 degree off a direct opposition. But, you know, Jupiter's in retrograde, offering that inner expansion because it's a retrograde, and you know that energy kind of opposite the Sun, so that's the soul essence, but you know the depth of the soul essence, we're needing to really understand our worth and values. That's where the inner growth is happening from Jupiter, you know, understanding our worth and values. But that could have been quite difficult to acknowledge and accept, because again we're going to the depth of the soul, Sun in Scorpio, that can be an uncomfortable place to understand who we are, in order to understand what our worth and values are. But that's then allowing that inner growth, because maybe we're realizing, yes, we're worth a lot more than we thought we were, because we've had to cleanse certain stuff, we've had to clear this karma, we've had to make these changes that have been quite challenging or uncomfortable, all as part of our healing journey, all to guide us forward, but it's been uncomfortable nonetheless. And again, Moon in Cancer, feeling all those feelings when it comes to the change, when it comes to the inner expansion, when it comes to our worth and values, but really getting us in alignment with our spiritual truth, which is what Saturn is wanting, of course. Okay, so let's stop sharing that one, and I'm going to now pull up the chart against the UK's chart, just to give some context on the house system. Okay, so you'll see that the inner wheel, that is the UK's natal chart, and then the outer wheel is Saturn direct, just what I've shown you. And I've got all the drawings on this. It makes it more challenging for me with this view, because the circle in the middle is smaller, so it looks a bit messier in this respect. But ultimately we've got Saturn over here transiting through the 8th house of power. So, you know, this is about empowerment and how we're empowered to move forward now that Saturn is going to be direct and calling for us to, you know, obviously get things in motion and to have that regimented, structured approach, whilst maintaining the divinity of the Piscean energy, of course. But the trines that are taking place, of course, across to Vesta in the 12th house, and down to the South Node and Pallas in the 4th house. So very much relating to our foundations. Not surprising, because I've spoken about foundations, certainly when it comes to cleansing the karma and allowing ourselves to build a foundation that is more balanced and fair and true. And Vesta in the 12th house. So could very much be that hidden sacred flame energy on a subconscious level, knowing on the subconscious level what it is that sparks that flame within, but now being called to kind of take that action and propel oneself forward in the direction of what sparks that flame, in the direction of what you're passionate about doing and what you want to create for your life, for your reality. Okay. We have the opposition from Saturn to Lilith, and Lilith is in the 2nd house of worth and values. So yes, that's where the self-critical nature could be coming up when it comes to our worth and values. And notice that the UK's natal moon is there at 0 degrees, which is an exact opposition with Saturn. So this could be, for the UK's collective, quite an emotional time, and one where we are overly self-critical of these changes that need to happen, of fears and doubts that might be coming up. It's like, okay, I know Saturn has shown me this in the retrograde, but I'm still fearful about taking this leap because I don't believe in myself. I don't feel I'm worthy of this, or my values don't align with that anymore. So these are the types of things that could be coming up because of different situations, different experiences, past experiences in this lifetime that I've mentioned, past life experiences. So all of it to be taken into consideration, certainly where Saturn's involved, because of karma being something that he rules. Okay. And we're really needing to learn this karma and understand it, because this is the reality. You know, this is actually what's going on in the collective right now. There is so much of this coming up that's being cleansed and you know, illuminated to us for cleansing, that there's just so much of it flying around, and we're all trying to understand what it means and why this is happening. So, you know, if that's resonating for you, you're not alone with that. But there is also with the moon, okay, which is in the first house of the self, that opposition with Pluto in the sixth. So yes, very much about how we're feeling when it comes to ourself, feeling quite comfortable in our emotions when it comes to the self, acknowledging what we feel about all of this that's coming up. We're not saying we're not feeling it, because we're feeling it. But then, excuse me, having this face off with Pluto almost about, you know, where we're of service to other people, perhaps. So how do we feel about this when it comes to the self? And knowing what's coming up in the house of worth and values, does that align with me? And where do we need to look at possible aspects of transformation where we're of service to other people? Is that all built on a structure that is not actually for me anymore? Where do my daily routines and schedules need to transform and change? Do we still need to implement anything in that way? So it's looking at that as well. Okay. And that moon having the trine across to Neptune, Neptune is in the 9th house. So that's all about discovery and learning. So again, with that being an emphasis on the intuition, in my opinion, is what we're learning and discovering about ourselves via our intuition. We're becoming more aware of who we are as a soul, as a spiritual being, okay? Because we're souls having a human experience, not the other way around. And this is why we are rediscovering, in some cases, who we are as a soul, especially if a lot of past life stuff's been coming up, because we're needing to understand who we are and where we've come from, because that gives us an answer and an explanation as to why certain things are happening now in this lifetime, and why certain dynamics in relationships are happening now, okay? Because potentially there is a past life connection that is playing out in this lifetime, and there is a massive lesson that needs to be learned between the two of you, and therefore all of this is coming up whoosh in your face to really take stock of and understand. So it's deep. This is deep stuff, but our intuition's guiding us, and we're learning, 9th house, a lot more about our spiritual truth. And that is also helping our feelings, because, you know, we need to understand what we feel about certain things, what we feel about certain people, and why this is coming up. So again, it's all helping us. It's all for us. It's not happening to us in a bad way. Okay, it might feel challenging, but it's happening for us. Okay. The other opposition that I wanted to mention was Venus, okay, in the 3rd house, and Venus, of course, opposite Neptune in that 9th house. So very much in terms of, yes, our investments, and when it comes to expression, 3rd house, how are we actually going to express where we need to change certain investments of our resources, if that's applicable? And let's not forget that Venus is right on top of the UK's Lilith. So there is heavy feminine energy there, but also, you know, the feminine energy of Venus and the investment side of it is heightening the energy of the self-critical nature. So we want to be clear about, you know, if we're investing in an area, if we're investing in a person, if we're investing in an activity, a thing, whatever it is, and we're trying to answer honestly, does that bring us that joy back? Does that bring us that Venus energy back? Does it make our heart happy? Well, Lilith is underneath this. So remember that Lilith could still be saying, yeah, you sure that makes you happy? Even though you know in your soul, yes, it does. So, you know, Venus needs to work with Neptune in this way in terms of the intuition, and also to enable that fair expression with the third house energy. Okay, we need to express and communicate fairly with ourselves about what it is. So yes, we need to be honest. We need to be honest, and the Virgo energy allows for that. There is a critical aspect to it, but sometimes we need to have that to accept the truth. It's like a truth talk with ourselves about, does that really bring me joy? Why am I still investing in it then? You know, so we need that truth, that reality check. And this is how we express and communicate to ourselves about what it is or who it is that we're investing in if it's not bringing us joy. But equally, those areas of our life or activities or people that we want to invest in, we know that they would bring us joy, that would bring us joy. But the fears and doubts come up, because maybe that means we've got to allow our heart chakra to open, to allow those people in. And because of past pain or fear, we put the walls up. So again, the truth talk needs to happen, third house expression, okay? But allowing ourselves to be guided by the Neptunian energy of the intuition to tell us the truth, okay? And our intuition might tell us, yeah, that person's really good for you, you know, but you're too scared to let your guard down and let that person in. And we're like, oh, whoa, okay, thanks, Lilith. Thanks, Neptune. Now I've got to really kind of like, let's communicate fairly with myself. What do I need to do? Okay, I might need to do some heart healing. I might need to do, you know, whatever it might be. Or I might need to just be open with that person and tell them how I feel, because, you know, there could be miscommunication because of fears and doubts. So that's just an example. This energy is here to work for us, remember, and it's to get us in alignment with our spiritual truth, Saturn in Pisces. So we need to understand where these deep-rooted fears are coming from that are maybe blocking certain opportunities for us. Okay, certain opportunities that could be bringing us joy, that could be making our heart so happy, and yet we're too fearful. So we're needing to be aware of all of this stuff. It's a bigger picture. Okay, it's not just Saturn, it's everything that's happening astrologically in terms of the energy. And of course, when you look at your own chart against the transits, it's going to give you a more detailed idea of your own journey. This is collective energy. Okay, so I won't labour that point too much, but you know, we've got the squares going on, of course, from the moon to the north node and the south node, and the north node is in the 10th house, so that's about inner authority. It can also be attributed to work, and that's where Jupiter is. So the inner expansion and growth in our worth and values is happening within the house of inner authority, social status. You know, how do we want to be seen in this respect by other people, and how is that empowering us to move forward on our healing journey of sovereignty, because we know that Chiron is there in Aries as well. So we're trying to get this empowerment, but we're needing to understand the deep-rooted gunky stuff in order to cleanse it, especially if there's karma that needs to be cleansed, in order to be empowered further, to become stronger, okay? Because what we want to do, ultimately, is to leave pain in the past, but to carry the wisdom forward, because we're wiser, we're more of a leader of our own life, we're stronger, we've got more of that focus, okay? And we're aware of ourselves because we've gone through those healing aspects, okay? I think that's all I wanted to say on that one. So what I'll do now is I will stop sharing, okay? And apologies, because this is what's been happening, you know, as I've been having conversations, and then all of a sudden my throat will just kind of like, you know, retract, because I'm still recovering from this bug, these germs, etc. But also a lot of throat chakra stuff with me as well. So all of that is going on. And I am getting better, so that's great. But of course, I have been talking for quite a while, so it just decided to flare up for me then. So apologies for that. But, you know, as I've said before, I want to try and get these messages out to you, because if there's anything in there that's going to help you on your journey, that's me doing my job as a light worker. Okay. So hopefully it doesn't disrupt you too much. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at Starco's Astro deck for any additional messages for the collective. Okay. Bearing in mind, Saturn is going to be stationing direct. See what we have. Okay, what do we have, please, for the collective? Opposition. Okay, so that makes me feel like butting heads. That came out time before when it related to connections with others. However, here, what we've got, that's interesting. We have got progressions in reverse and North Node. Okay, so North Node is where we're heading towards. Okay, that's our guiding light. That's our true north. That's our purpose. That's what we're heading towards. But we may be facing some confrontation. And this could actually be us butting heads with ourselves to go on a deep level. But also, let's be mindful of others that we're connecting to, where there may be that opposition energy, because also we can be that reflection for other people, that mirror. That's that soulmate energy of being a mirror. And you know, we might not like what we've been shown here, and this could be what's making us kind of want to retract from this journey of transformation, because it's hard, it's intense. But ultimately on the bottom we have Aquarius, which is that energy of collaboration, and Aquarius rules the 11th house, so that is about connections with others. So hidden energy is saying we need to connect more with those that are, you know, soul tribe, because underneath that we have midheaven, and this just makes me feel like a kind of fantasy Disney character with a castle. You know, this is about the castle in the sky almost, but reaching that kind of pinnacle of our success through collaboration with others that are here to help us. Okay, not those that are going to hinder us, although those are valuable lessons. But this is about, you know, allowing the flow of the energy between us with those that we're connecting with. Okay, wisdom of the oracle. So we have wisdom of the oracle. Okay, TikTok in reverse. And that's interesting because that also makes me think of Saturn, because Saturn rules time. We've got Y in reverse, and we've got here and now. Right, okay, this is very much clear. On the bottom we've got mending. Okay, so this is about healing, but this is about being present, folks, you know, because we've got TikTok and then we've got here and now, and it's kind of saying, you know, let's not feel like we're running out of time with certain things. This is about our own time, and it's divine timing as well. Let's be present. We need to be present and understand what's going on, to process, to work through the moment, to be in the present moment, and to not keep questioning why things are happening. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? You know, this is about, it's in reverse, so that's a positive thing. It's coming out of that kind of mode of thinking about why. And we see there's a book. So that's very much that wisdom. Okay, we've got the wisdom within us to understand why certain things are happening. We need to unlock that wisdom. Remain in the present, though, because we see here, we've got the past and the future, and this flag here says you are here. So in between, because we're in the present. Okay, it's trying to remain present throughout all of this, especially if we've got expectation of outcome. We know we've been going through, you know, a rough time of it with the healing journey. You know, when is this going to end? Or, you know, if I do this now, what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time? And kind of almost putting that anxiety on ourselves that's unnecessary. So being present. And yes, although Saturn is very much, yeah, taskmaster, regimented, rules time, we might feel like, oh my God, Saturn is now direct. Oh my God, I've not got time. I've got to sort this out. This is saying slow the energy down here. Let's allow things to flow. We saw that flow, didn't we? Okay, let's allow things to flow, because if we're accepting and recognizing what's been coming up for us within the Saturn retrograde period, and just Saturn in Pisces generally, what we've been learning, if we're understanding that, we are learning the lessons at the right time. So it's all going according to divine timing in that way. We may just feel like there is a sense of urgency when he switches back on, but that's because the energy is going to then propel him forward. You know, there's going to be momentum. So it's like, right, okay, we've got to get moving again, but we don't need to rush. This is about allowing ourselves to be present in divine timing. Okay, understanding the lessons is paramount to it all, not how long it takes you to learn the lesson, because we all learn it in the time we're meant to learn it. Okay, right. Let's see what we have from the unfolding path, which is my newest deck. Okay, let's see what we have from the tarot. For the collective, please, what do we have? Any additional messages from the tarot? Oh, yes, I like that. It's a beautiful deck. It's the artwork. Yes. Sorry, I'm a typical Pisces. Okay, and then one more. Okay, what we have on the bottom, we do have the Emperor in reversed. So we do need to step into our sovereignty and go after what we want. Okay, that's the hidden energy. We might be in our ego a bit. So we've got here a couple of major arcana. We've got two kings. Okay, let's see. So we have here, and this is a beautiful card, the Two of Swords. Absolutely beautiful depiction here. And, you know, this is about a choice. This is about making a choice and maybe not knowing what the choice is, but maybe knowing what the choice is, and actually allowing yourself to see through this metaphorical blindfold to make the choice. Now you see she's holding it so that the two handles are kind of, you know, against each other, back to back. So she's actually allowing them both to flow into one. So, you know, maybe the choice is for something to work in harmony with another. It doesn't have to be. But this is about a choice nonetheless. And it could be a choice between two kings. It could be a King of Wands and a King of Pentacles. Okay. Now they're both in reverse, so neither of them are in their power. In between, we have the Fool and we have the Hermit in reverse, two major arcana. So this is about taking a leap of faith. This is starting off a new cycle, because it is at the start of a cycle. And Hermit is all about introspection, lighting the path forward from the introspection, using that wisdom within, okay, to light the lantern to move forward. In reverse, though, this is about saying, okay, you've gone within the cave, you know what you need to do, you've received that introspection, now it's time to apply that and move forward. So there could be some hesitancy, because clearly a choice needs to be made. And if it's a choice between two people, then, as I said, neither of them are in their full sovereignty, because they're both in reverse here. This could simply be saying that you need to own your worth in terms of what you want to create. You need to be loyal to yourself in terms of your own stability. And you've gone within and you understand this. But there is a fear around releasing something, because the Hermit is a 9 card, in order to move forward. Okay. But the Fool is actually in the upright. So this is about a new start, no matter what. Okay. But yes, maybe in a bit of ego at this moment in time. Let's see from the Lightseer's Tarot. Actually, let's not. Let's go to the Gilded Tarot Royale. and see if we've got a clarifying card for the Fool here. That's too many, although what did come out is 2 queens. We've got a Queen of Pentacles and we've got a Queen of Cups. We've got a 9 of Pentacles. Notice they're all in reverse. With a 2 of Swords in reverse, so that's the second 2 of Swords, and a 3 of Cups. Okay, there could be third-party energy here, and third party doesn't have to be another person. It can be, but it's about, you know, energy that's kind of taking you away from your main focus. Okay, something that's getting in the way of it. Could be a job, could be something like that. It doesn't have to be another person. But this is definitely, you know, needing to know your worth, needing to lead with the heart, needing to understand that you can be independent and manifest the reality that you desire, and you can receive that joy. Okay, but fear around making a choice. Okay, and the choice is obviously you. The choice is, what do you want to invest in? What brings you that joy? Okay, very interesting. Okay, and what I'm guided to do now, and again, I will timestamp all of this because you might not want to sit through all of this, is I'm going to use the Light Seas Tarot deck, my favorite deck, and I'm going to take a card for each of the zodiac signs, going from Aries all the way through to Pisces. Okay, I wanted to point out as well that with Saturn, you know, and again, this is just a collective generalization because natal charts are very unique. Okay, so it's not a hard and fast rule what I'm going to say, but Saturn in Pisces. So for Pisces rising, Pisces ascendant, that's taking place in your first house because Pisces would be your first house. So that's all about the self. Okay. Aries, that would be your 12th house in theory. Okay, and I say that because again, charts are different, are unique. So just work out, you know, what your ascendant is, what your rising sign is, because that's what's going to be your first house, and then work out where Pisces is in relation to that. Okay, if you know and you have access to your own natal chart, you're going to see it straight away. And again, it's all unique. You might have 2 houses in one sign, 2 signs in one house. Very unique. Okay. But understanding, you know, where Saturn is for you. We saw in the UK's natal chart, it's in the 8th house, okay, of power. So that's all about, yes, learning those lessons when it comes to empowerment, driving us forward on a collective level when it comes to empowerment of the self with our spiritual truth. But, you know, it might be happening in your 2nd house of worth and values. Take a look, you know, it might just give you some guidance, some direction. It's the same with Pluto, it's the same with the other planets. It's going to give you some guidance. Right? Understanding where your Saturn is in your natal chart, as well as where Saturn is transiting through. Okay, that's good. Right, let's go with Aries first of all then, please. What do Aries need to know? Okay, what do Aries need to know? Well, there we go. We have got the Emperor and we have got the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so this is about needing to have the courage to go after what you want, to be strategic if you need to, but also to let that guard down. Okay, this is somebody who is guarding their stability because of past pain and past hurt. Okay, kind of looking back in the past there and keeping herself very guarded. But it relates to stability of the heart also. So have the courage to go after what you want. You might need to be strategic, but ultimately this is a very powerful card, okay? Because it is that divine masculine energy. So that divine masculine energy within you, regardless of gender or how you identify, you need to find that and allow yourself to release that pain of the past, let some guards down in order to get what you want. Okay, Taurus. Taurus, okay, Knight of Cups in reverse. All right, so you may feel like you haven't got that emotional fulfillment around you. This is about movement towards emotional fulfillment, and it could be a messenger. So it may be that at the moment, messages are not coming through to you, okay? You may be waiting for a message. It could simply be that you're wanting to move more in the direction of emotional fulfillment, but you feel blocked or stagnant at this current time. And the hidden energy is the Queen of Wands. So this is about creating your own emotional fulfillment based on what you want and what you desire. That's sacred flame energy. Okay. Gemini. Gemini. Wow, the Empress in reverse. Okay, fear of birthing something new. There is fear of birthing something new and the fear of manifesting what it is that you desire in your life. The fear of creation, basically. And then we have the Moon in reverse. Yeah, there's fears. There's deep-rooted fears here. You need to go within in terms of your intuition, understand what it is you truly want. Two major arcana cards here, okay? Taurus and Pisces. So that could be relevant. I know it's for Gemini, but that could be relevant for you, okay? You need to go within your intuition and understand. There could also be, I'm just looking at this now, cycle that needs to close out because I'm drawn very much to the two moons here. And of course, we've got the globe here. All right. So circles, cycles, there could be a cycle that needs to close out. That's what's preventing you from manifesting something new at this time, or fears around that. Okay, where are we? Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. This is for Cancer. Ace of Pentacles in reverse, okay, and then we've got King of Pentacles in reverse as well. This is very much about your stability, Cancer, okay, and there is a protective nature to this. So you are trying to protect your pentacle energy. You're trying to protect this stability that you've built up for yourself, but you need to be loyal to yourself and understand your worth and values, okay, in order for this to grow. And that's what I'm feeling from that. It is protected, but you're protecting it, okay? It needs to be allowed to grow. And to do that, you need to be loyal to yourself, know your worth, okay? Step into your sovereignty. Okay, Leo. Leo, Leo, Leo. Leo, Leo, Leo. We have, right, that fell on the floor. Oh, okay, so we have Page of Swords with the King of Swords. Okay, very swords energy. So very much about being on a quest at this moment in time, Leo. Okay, you might be discovering something. You could have received a message or some enlightenment. Okay, maybe even apology. But this is about using your wisdom to carry you forward in terms of this journey of discovery that you're on, and not being afraid to communicate what it is that you want, what it is that you're trying to learn, what it is you're trying to achieve at this moment in time. Okay, Virgo. Okay, Virgo, we have got the Wheel and we have got the Queen of Cups. Beautiful. Love that. So Virgo, this is about a very kind of pivotal moment for you, but you need to be open to receive. This is about being open to receive from the heart space, being comfortable in one's emotions, but being open to receive. Okay. And that's going to allow the wheel to turn in your favor. There is expansion here as well, because I'm always drawn to the Jupiter glyph that I see. Could involve an element of risk and faith, but ultimately there's balance and there's no fear with this. So this is about holding your hands open to receive whatever opportunity this might be that's going to allow for expansion and emotional fulfillment. Okay. Then we have Libra. Libra. Okay, we have got 9 of Wands, we've got 8 of Wands in reverse, and we've got 4 of Wands. A lot of Wands here, Libra. So this is about, yeah, feeling resilient here. You know, you've got to this point in your life where you've built things up and you're holding that Ace of Wands, if you like, you're holding that opportunity, but you're holding on to it. You're kind of protecting yourself as well. Now, remember that one more wand is going to make the 10 of Wands. So you're kind of not wanting to overburden yourself. But as a result of this resilience, okay, there could be some stubbornness there as well. There is stagnancy in terms of movement forward. But what is waiting for you is this beautiful energy of the 4 of Wands, which is actually the 1111 card. So it could symbolize a union with somebody. It could simply be saying that there is joy to be had here, but you're being a bit resistant because of defending your territory. Okay. Scorpio. Scorpio. Oh, right. Scorpio, you might have had your heart broken, or you feel like your heart has been torn in many different directions, okay, due to other priorities. Ultimately, this is about you moving away from deceptive behavior, even if it's self-deception or self-sabotage, okay? Something has been causing you pain, and it's made you feel like you've been torn in many different directions, you know, perhaps priorities with different people or just different things. And it's just made you feel like you've been torn in many different conflicting directions. But it's about moving out of any deceptive energy, any self-sabotage, okay? That will be the key for you, Scorpio. Sagittarius. Sagittarius. Okay, right. So in order for a cycle closeout, there is a need to understand that things are happening for you and not to you. I know I said that earlier in the astrology report, but this is about accepting change. 5 of Pentacles. There is a need to accept some change here when it comes to your stability. And this is what's going to enable close out of a cycle, okay? And vice versa. Close out of a cycle, a major one, enables you to understand that things are happening for you and not to you, and it facilitates change, because after this we go back to the Fool, okay, which we saw earlier, the start of a brand new cycle, one that's actually meant for you, okay? Capricorn. Capricorn. Okay. Capricorn, we have the 4 of Cups, 4 of Cups in reverse, King of Wands in reverse, and King of Cups. Okay, so Capricorn, you might be dealing with 2 people. Okay, take it if it resonates. You could be dealing with a water sign, could be dealing with a fire sign. This could simply be saying that in terms of emotional fulfillment, do you really know what it is you want? Are you focused on the divine opportunity or the cups that have spilled? There is a need to be comfortable in one's emotions, to understand what it is that you want, because that's the cup of emotional fulfillment that you desire. But also understanding that you maybe need to take action on something in terms of what you want, and to find that courage within in order to do so. To be rooted as well, because they've read both those cards. Right? Aquarius. Right, okay. Aquarius, we've got the Page of Cups in reverse with the 10 of Wands in reverse and the 8 of Swords. Okay, there's some self-reflection going on here, but ultimately this is an illusion. Okay, this is about feeling anxious, having the fears, the stress, anxiety, all of that. But that's the reflection. Okay, that's the reality there. That's the reflection. So you may feel like you're kind of torn, or you've got all these fears and doubts going on, but that could just be simply from what's being reflected back at you. And this could be because a cycle needs to close out that has been causing you overburden, and also something that you feel is maybe too good to be true. Perhaps you're not sure where that emotional fulfillment could be coming from, okay, but certainly not coming from a place that has caused you overburden, and that might be what the stress pertains to. Okay, Aquarius, right. And then Pisces. Pisces, Pisces, Pisces. Okay. Pisces, 4 of Swords in reverse, 5 of Swords in reverse. Okay, progress, the 4 to the 5. But also this is about, you know, rest and avoiding burnout. Okay, caused from mental conflict and stress. There is a sense of coming out of that though. So this is actually enabling that to happen. This is all about that self-care. So understanding that you're needing to rest and take a moment in order to alleviate yourself of this mental inner conflict that's been going on. Okay, so that is for the highest good, having that rest and looking after oneself. Because underneath that we have the sun, which is that full expression of the soul's truth. And it's Leo energy, you know, so it makes me think of that kind of Venus heart energy as well. Beautiful. Okay, those were just some, you know, cards to give a bit of extra guidance, but you know, it's based on collective energy. As I always say, it's not going to resonate for everybody because the collective is vast. Okay, it's just some additional messages in case there's anything in there for you that resonate. Okay, right, so I'm wishing you all the best for Saturn stationing direct, that momentum forward. Remember, be present. We saw the sign there to be present, and to understand that, you know, the most important thing here is that you're understanding and accepting what might be coming up, what you might have understood within the introspection of the retrograde, and ultimately what your soul is guiding you towards, because, you know, your intuition is going to be guiding you. That's that source energy within. So if it's coming from the soul and then you're enabling yourself to feel what's coming up, okay, it might be challenging stuff because that could be highlighting a lesson that needs to be learned or karma that needs to be cleared. But because you're aware of it, you can then take the necessary action to, you know, cleanse that karma, etc. Unless it comes up, how do we know? So it's all for our highest good, but allow yourself to be present and be patient with yourself. This is a massive point in our lives at the moment, you know, in terms of collective energy, in terms of what we're having to deal with and transmute when it comes to this energy, in order to, you know, uphold our sovereignty, to get more wise when it comes to our spiritual truth, the divinity that's within us. And for some of us, you know, it's been a very, very kind of, what's the word, testing time, and it's not to be taken lightly. You know, this is transformation because it's coming from the depths of the soul. We're being called to do this, to go through this transformation, because, you know, we are sovereign beings and we're worthy of great things, but conditioning, past life situations, whatever it might be, may have just layered and layered and layered upon us, and we might have forgotten who we are. And when we understand how magical and powerful we are, we can then move forward accordingly, with faith, with trust, you know, with strength to do so. But it takes us a while to get there because we're having to unravel all of these layers and to understand why they've got there in the first place. So I hope that makes sense. I'm sending you all the best, and until the next time, take care of you. Bye, everybody.